bliss blazing, and refuge in bodhicitta, which are very much in alignment with the teaching itself. Okay. And take a moment to find your 3 pillars, sensing your seat, letting your upper body rise and be supported by your skeletal structure. And then the alignment, the natural alignment through the center of your body, place of wisdom and peace in the body. May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. May all beings always be pain-free and live happily. May no beings ever cling to those near nor spurn those far. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. Om Ahum Kri, great bliss blazing power, palace where wisdom wants no bliss and emptiness, blissful lotus ones with no wanting, Vajra sun great glory shines from there. True form Amitabha Dorje Lokesh, Lord compassion passionate, lotus Lord master of world and peace, power Heruka outshines all things. Sangwaye Vajravarahi, Demcha desire king great bliss treasure. My music Chimarus all mudras, I dancing in bliss emptiness. Power wielding Dak and Daki ho, as you know, seen and empty as the same. You dance your Vajra form, shakes 3 worlds, your laugh and ceaseless speech rouse 3 realms. Red light rays suffuse all worlds in peace, stir and gather world peace essences. Grant the 2 feet our supreme desire, Vajra passion of your own heart mind. With great Vajra hooks and lassos you bind to great bliss all you know and see. Dance play in the endless magic net like sesame pods burst open with 3 root power, God host vast array. Bless and grant with respect I pray, for unhindered city power in all feet high and low that I desire. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this bodhi mind, essence, nature, moving love mandal, until full bodhi I seek refuge. Kunjoksum Gateshik Zawasum Zalung Tigle Rangshing Chanjubsem Ngo Rangshing Tuche Gingorla Janjubning Vepardu Japsuchi. In 3 reels, in 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this bodhi mind, essence, nature, moving love mandal, until full bodhi I seek refuge. Kunjo, oh, okay. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless states. Oh, not so what you dates and reji, Korwala Gujundu Jambedro, Rang Regrasa Ying Sung Elsa Cheer, Seme Shing Hungnes MJ Do. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. Oh, all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless states. And rest in that as we invoke Rinpoche. Yabdagel Nam Tangyer Mei Bei Gandrin Sumden Chin Chen Lama Che Rizin Jorme Tupten Chasola Sowa Deb Son Yamlan Tarjin Shog Ogmin Shigi Ingi Potang Ne Dusum Sangye Gunging Oanyi Rang Sim Chigung Sim Dun Zebe Zawe Lama Shapla Sowa Deb. I will rest for just a bit. In this practice, we find that from the very beginning, we ourselves, and actually the whole universe, is Chenrezi, is living love, we might say, something not separate from us. As Rinpoche pointed out, it's not that we here are doing creation or completion phase practice. We are just here as Chenrezi. Simple as that. And in singing these verses, we are here talking today about the first four verses, especially we went over verse 1 last time, and you can have access to that if you were not there. The first verse really opens the whole field of practice. It expresses to us the magic dance in which the figures, the awakened figures, Chenrezi and all the rest, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, participate. And this is a dance in which there is no real movement because everything takes place in the space of reality and there are no edges to it. So you can't say you're moving in one direction or another. Reality is everywhere. So that itself is a kind of koan for us to seek to experience what that means. And we end up praying in a state of unthinking, not grasping onto anything, in a state of sameness. So the first verse already shows us how all four of them are operating. They are inviting us, every phrase, every word, as we see again and again as we practice, is a portal to our own actual state of reality, an invitation to see, for example, what ungrasping is, and to seek to inquire into our own state. How is it? How do we sense it? Do we sense it? Do we go back to our mind and wonder what it is? Or do we find that we're actually in contact with a kind of mirror in which we can find reflected what is already there? So there's a certain kind of making contact, which we can call seeing. There's a ongoing kind of curiosity about what our own state actually is. Am I sins? Am I finding it? What exactly is occurring? So occasionally we inquire, how are we at this moment? How do we feel? And this can flow very naturally into a state of profound and very rich just sensing what this all pervasive, unmoving, dancing compassion that is part of our inheritance as a living organism. How do we sense it? How does it feel? And ultimately, and the last line of each verse explicitly invites this, we come to a state where we're no longer separate from what has been described in the verse, and no longer aspiring or praying for it, but in a state of being that. So if you were at our September retreat, Seeing to Being, this will ring some bells. These are 4 phases that we encounter in life and in practice in general, and we find them here. Each phase, and we can see as we trace in the verses themselves, bring us toward, each one brings us toward its own kind of fruitional line, the last line of each verse, which is that invitation to just be what we have just sung and described. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Really quite, yeah, simple and beautiful. Also, as we noted last time, the first verse kind of opens the gate to all of the aspects of the next 3 verses. The dance, the state in which we practice, the sacred sanctum that really is at the heart of our being and the heart of this compassion. And in the 2nd through 3rd verse, through 4th verse, we can understand them, just still speaking from 30,000 feet before we, or maybe only 15,000 feet, before we go back and look at the actual verses. We find that the first verse, the 2nd verse, the first one after the kind of opening, is really introducing us, reminding us about our Dharmakaya nature. And that means it is reminding us of our essence, our empty nature, the actual way of being, of how we are. And the next verse introduces and reminds us of the Sambhogakaya, our nature, which is lucent, luminous, knowing. Emptiness is not alone in the mix of what we are. There is also, we can call it awareness, we can call it Rikpa. We can just understand that, like in the beautiful Dzogchen image of the sunlit sky, there is space which is empty. And then there is the natural luminosity suffusing all of space. So that's what we get in that next verse. We'll see it more closely in a moment. And then the 4th verse, so these 2 come together. And of course, this is following the pattern that we know from Jigme Lingpa's refuge in Armandro. The refuge, the Dzogchen refuge, is specifically a refuge in our empty essence, our luminous nature. And then these 2 combine to body forth as emanations of deities, of Buddhas, in this case, Chenrezi. So in the 4th of these introductory verses, we meet is a little too distancing, but it might feel like a meeting. You know, we oscillate just naturally in practice. You may find, I certainly find, and I've really looked into this quite a lot in terms of some Nyingte practice, Yeshid Sogel. Sometimes we feel like, yeah, we're her. Sometimes we'll feel like, yeah, of course, this is Chenrezi right here. It's nowhere else. And sometimes we do find that we're falling into, well, I can't help but pray to or pray for, right? That kind of prayer may come to us. That's okay. It's part of our path. It's part of us moving toward a state of just being this boundless unification of love and wisdom. And that's where we are, the Nirmanakaya in the 4th verse. And this is significant because when we are taught about Buddha nature and our nature, we are taught, especially in Dzogchen, that the Buddha nature is already there. It's our spiritual inheritance. And how is it right now, as we sit here just in the ground of our being, so to speak? It is there as empty essence, luminous nature. and moving love or caring heart mandala. That's how, in full fruition, there will be the three kayas, the Dharmakaya, the true form, bright form, Sambhogakaya, and formed form, Nirmanakaya. And the way that those three kayas exist in us from the very beginning is through these three, Mo Rang Shin Tukche, that third verse of our refuge. That's a reminder for us, really, of the map of our practice. We know, many of you, the Dakini Ngondro. So really a central thing we can say of the Dakini Ngondro is our ability, our gradual coming to recognize everything as the three kayas. And that is also a principle here in these verses. In some way or another, it's a principle in all Dzogchen practices. That's a refuge. Okay, so that's the overview. We can say that we're moving from seeing to being, which is another way of saying that we are moving from perhaps some degree of anything short of full identification right now in my experience as Chenrezi. Of course, we still have ordinary minds and we flicker into them sometimes. Our orientation, though, and the possibility of what is constantly mirrored to us in this practice through the carefully, sacredly chosen words of our recitation is that we are. Chenrezi is here. We can imagine Chenrezi everywhere, and we are also, in that sense, our true nature is everywhere. How easy is that? So these words, Rinpoche himself described them as damnak, precious. Often this is translated as instructions, words. Nak means like words. It can mean advice. Damnak is, especially it means like words of experience. And while in many contexts, it's quite fine to translate this as sacred instructions or something like that, I feel it's quite important in this case to instructions sounds just a little more dualistic than where we're headed with this practice. An instruction, how to do. But a mingok, this kind of, is not just really how to do, it's like showing you what it is. And then we resonate with it as best we can. We come into it as best we can. So that's the kind of word, those are the kinds of words that we are encountering here. We saw already in the first verse, and I already mentioned, amazing. So what is arrayed before us? The royals, the majesty, all of the Buddhas, who are in fact expressions here of Chenrezi, and they are dancing. They're dancing in the sense that they are alive in our hearts, they're alive for us, and yet it's not that they're moving around. They never move away from us or come toward us. We're here. There's a here-ness to this dance that is not ordinary. So right away from the first lines, heads up, this is outside ordinary mind. How wonderful. And as I mentioned, this word nyukma means very essential. It can mean fundamental. Fundamental may sound too material, but it's core, it's fundamental, it's natural. This is our state, and it's just right there. It's naturally settled. Self-settled means there's no effort. We are continuously reminded that there is no effort in this practice. There is some kind of keen discernment that is invited, definitely, opening the portals of our wisdom mind, maybe dimming a bit the habitual patterns of our ordinary mind. But that's a natural process as we come into our true nature. So we are told, and our aspiration is to feel it that way. And the more confidence we have in the sacred words that we are given, the more the petals of the heart can relax and open. Being relaxed is very important. So for me, what my aspiration when in singing the Jigme Refuge and Bodhicitta verse, as we do in general before practice, is because the refuge reminds us that the truest refuge is with us already. And the Bodhicitta verse reminds us that we are to be at ease. And that's why, as you know, we sit with our hands so like this when we pray refuge. And then we rest our hands in the posture of Longchen Rabchen. We rest our hands on our knees, reminding ourselves that, in fact, the whole flow and intention of our practice is to rest easefully in the real realm, in the Dharma Dhatu, in our true nature. And guess who's already and always there? Chenrezi, and our true teacher. The Lama, as Rinpoche has said more than once, the Lama, the human Lama, the physical Lama, takes our hand and brings us to the true Lama, which is your own nature. So from the very beginning in this practice, we are invited to orient toward what is already here, and which therefore doesn't require effort. And when there's no effort required, then of course, at the end of the first verse, the fruitional line of the first verse, in great unthinged sameness, now praying. This unthinged sameness, unthing literally, as you know, maybe you know, mikvah means like an object, but an object always means some kind of separation. So this is mikmeh. Meh is negative. There's not objectness going on. This kind of phrase, also like the phrase of great sameness, these are the vocabulary of this practice. Every phrase is really a guidepost, maybe more than sometimes we take it as an instruction, but fundamentally it's a guidepost. Hey, here it is. Come here, come and see, come and be. This is what we are at this moment. Sameness, because the dance of your fundamental nature is everywhere. There's nowhere to go. There's no leaving it behind. So we are praying in that state, which means please come into the mansion without edges of your own reality. So this is a guide to the whole practice. And then we come to the second verse. And right away, we can read, we can understand that this first line is a description, an evocation, I would rather say. Description, again, is kind of something over there. This is an evocation, an elicitation in you of your nature, the Dharmakaya, the empty essence that is already you. Well, it's boundless, Tadrel. Free of extremes is another way to understand this. Free of the extremes of overly clinging as if the situation in this moment will last forever. It's technically called extreme of permanence. I think it's good to translate for us in a culture which is so kind of where emotions are such a strong part of the vocabulary and sort of psychological, emotional language is just part of the coin of the realm. We can understand, but it's technically called an extreme of permanence, as just a very powerful, kind of addictive sense that what is right now is the way it's going to be. It's not that we intellectually think that things will last, but boy, do we feel that way, you know? And we want it to stay also if it's good. We want stability. And that pulls us to an extreme of seeking it, wanting it, And then as we begin to chip away at that, it can happen. One has mood swings also. One can come out of a deep depression or a deep ecstatic state of hyperactivity and just feel, oh, now I've fallen flat. Nihilism, depression in the sense that a feeling that, no, I can't do anything. Nothing will ever go my way. Again, that's an emotional um, resonance with nihilism is fundamentally a kind of an existential description in Buddhist language. It's a state of recognizing that the enormous, unending stability you want so much is not there. It's just not. And one can plummet into feeling that or suspecting the delusion that nothing is there for me. It's a depressed state. It can lead to a depressed state or a very actively desperate state. So neither of these are what we're invited to. We're free of extremes. And even this word, Namkha Norba Rinpoche, this is if you read him or were fortunate like we were to hear him evoke Dzogchen for us, he would often speak of limits, that Dzogchen is beyond limits. And that's another very wonderful translation for this word ta. It means edge, it means limit, it means boundary. And in the context of, we cultivate the four boundless states: love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. We sing about them in our opening aspiration. And recently, one day, it just struck me kind of anew. Of course, we've known about the boundless states for decades, most of us. To be boundless, to have no boundaries, is quite unlike our ordinary mind. Just in this simple word, tadrel, free. How often, when are we free of some kind of sense of inner and outer, self and others? We often say, as Shantideva makes very clear in his 8th chapter, Bodhisattva Charyavatara, starting verse 90, if you haven't read it lately, right? As soon as we have a sense of self, automatically there's a sense of other. That is to say, a sense of a bounded self. And pretty much 99.9% of the time, if we're honest, we walk around with some semblance of that kind of a self. So that's a boundary. Good and bad, these are boundaries. I did well today. I didn't. You're not doing well today. I don't like you. I like other people. Just mentioning this to invite us to notice, because I have found it useful to bring to consciousness how we live in boundaries all the time. And who made them? Who created them? Not Buddha, not God. We did. Out of distraction from our true nature, which is unbounded, we live in a very constrained, bounded state, karmically active. And that's why in our verse of bodhicitta, we pray to free everyone from the chains, if we call them chains, the rope. It's just our own energy set up in certain kinds of patterns of wanting or hating. And guess what? That's living in a boundary of some kind or another. So right here, first phrase in this line, tadrel, is really worth our reflection. And as I've said before, for me, the way I love to practice when I have time, and what I feel really brings me into the space of the practice, is to slow way down, tadrel. And maybe you've read in Longchenpo or Tsongkhapa or Chimele, there's a lot of talk about boundaries one way or another, permanence, impermanence. Just to give yourself a little space to settle into. What would it be like without any boundary, without limit? It could be dizzying, it could be disorienting. I think it was in the 18th century. One of my friends did a lot of research on this. When cities were first becoming places where you had wide squares and open spaces, I think especially in Germany, it first began, what's it called, agoraphobia? You're afraid. And many people, particularly women, for reasons I'm not sure of, but we could probably guess, would find themselves needing to stop at the edge of the open space of the town square and just feel disoriented, feel it was frightening because they were used to narrow streets that were clearly bounded and you knew where you were going as you turned left or right or made a fork. If you walk through old European cities, right, they're so wonderful that way. They feel so, I love it anyway. It's homey, right? The streets are. So to find then yourself suddenly spilled out in this open space felt kind of boundless compared to what you were used to. You can look it up. There's a lot of writing about this. People were disoriented. And we might also be disoriented when we start not just to see a little bit of, or even inquiring into, but actually getting to a place where we're sensing that boundlessness. If you feel a little disoriented, it's okay. You could look around if you need to, or you can let yourself sit with it and expand your capacity for being in the boundless. You're still sitting on your cushion, or maybe you're walking. That's there. You're not in, nothing is actually happening. You're just noticing something that's always true. Tadel. And then another very exquisite phrase. Then Rinpoche takes us right within that or from that to long yang, expansive long. So long is such an important word for us. If you were here for Khenpo Geshe's magnificent discussion of Jigme Lingpa's Shilam Dre Ground Path Fruit prayer, which is on Lotsawa, and which he gave incredible commentary on, we spent a lot of time on the word long, and I may have mentioned this before. One way long means something like a great expanse, and that is how it's translated in naming our tradition, long chen ying take, heart essence, vast expanse. Translate is one meaning. But for us in Dzogchen, a very important meaning for Jigme Lingpa in particular is that long is also a place in which a kind of lightly held space, so not quite the boundlessness, but it could appear in a boundless space. For example, many times we've considered this, in the vast boundless sky, there can be clouds, and sometimes there's a hole in the clouds, and that hole is alone. We experimented with different ways of translating this. I think Lama Namgyal came up with embrace. It's like a gentle embrace, a portal. Light passes through it, comes into it. And sometimes you have the long of a tigle, a bright orb in the heart of a deity, or your heart as a deity. And that's a long, that's where the root syllable appears, right? Something happens in a long. The light pours through, it's a portal. It's vast. Yang means vast, broad. So Era just for chantable English translated as a field. A field is where, games are played, something happens, and yet it itself is open. It makes sense? So the Tadrel takes us to the long, which then we're reminded of how this exists. And this echoes the third line in our refuge of the Dakini Ngandro, so beautiful. Cell in this case means, the fundamental meaning of cell, as you may know, is to clear. And as in English, in Tibetan, it has the meaning of being clear and also of clearing away, throwing out. So in this boundless space, which is a place of a natural arising, this is a home ground, home ground, home state. which is free of anything, any need to clear something away, any need to add something to it. In other words, this is another way of telling us no effort here. Long Chenrezi, it's all there for us. And this, in fact, is our she, our home plate, home state, home ground. It is.
Don't say anything about shock.
Shock means just to rest. So there's nothing to clear away, sell. And in this case, shock also has the meaning of put. So chantable English, a little poetically, I hope, nothing to erase or place. In other words, nothing to do. It is complete. It is you are, we are, everyone is a great completeness. And a completeness, as Dzogchen understands it, is replete with Ngorang Shintukche, not just luminous essence, also lucent clarity. And these two together, we can say the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, create a state. And this is so that compassion is implicitly there. I'm getting a little ahead of myself in the verse. So just these words, sel shak, mean it's all here. And this is our she. She is a really powerful word. It's Dzogchen. It sounds the same as she, and the first two letters are the same, but it has a suffix, that sa. If you look at it, you can see there are 3 Tibetan letters there. And we're at home. You know, sometimes our ordinary mind likes this and can understand it, can appreciate it. You come home, workday is done. Oh, nothing you have to do. You don't have to make a business call. You don't have to send an email. You just are there, resting. It's a state a living organism likes a lot. Watch a salamander or an alligator just resting in the sun, right? So there we are. And as we said, this is a place in which something happens. And what is happening here is that thoughts are billowing, ever of light, a cell. Gyutuk means that there's kind of a stirring up. This happens. It doesn't disturb the Dharmakaya. We're still in Dharmakaya zone. We'll hear more about thoughts in the next verse, where it's just light. When we understand what thoughts really are, what are they? Not much of anything. Yeah, would you like to screen share the text? Would that help you? Thank you, Shane. Maybe it's a good idea. Okay, so we're on the second line. Thank you very much. Gyuchik Dotso Yene Yasoa primordially. This is how it is. There's the Dharmakaya, which in and of itself is limitless. It's a broad expanse, nothing to do. It's your home ground. And here we have light billowing, not an obstruction, not a distraction, an expression of the nature. Back to more about, so the Dharmakaya itself here, been translating it as sheer form. Sheer because it's unobstructed. These billowing luminosities that ordinary mind considers thought just flow through it. How lovely. We are always whole. We are always complete. And this tok, this gathering, this constellation of these thoughts, what are they? Primordially, they are luminous. Same word cell, same Tibetan word, different meaning. The semantic range of cell, like clear in English, as I said, is pretty big. It's generous. This is the natural radiance. One comment. This is the natural radiance of the Dharmakaya, which is already in you. The emptiness. The Dharmakaya is the fruition of the emptiness that is always already unfailingly uncorrect right there in your mind right now. It's never not there. These are the state of the fruitional kaya's state of them, right in the ground, right in your nature, not even on the path yet necessarily. It's just there. And oh, we get this lovely. So, how is this? This is always, dak means permanent, which seems like a time statement, but it also actually is a space statement. But mainly here, what we're saying is in time, it's always present, past, present, future. It suffuses all of time. So always just there, Hundrup. Hundrup, often translated as spontaneously occurring. Here again is a word, a very important word for Dzogchen, as you know, that reminds us that no effort, spontaneously, it just happens, it just occurs. The sun just shines. It just doesn't have an alarm clock that says, hey, now I got to get up and light up the world. It's just there. Your nature, the emptiness of your nature, it's just there. Now, this is, we're going to be praying with this in our hearts and in our awareness. So maybe take a moment. It can, sometimes a moment is very precious, you know, you just suddenly get, boundlessness is here. And likewise, space, place in which wisdom can arise, luminosity can arise. There's nothing, nothing to do. In fact, any doing will interfere with this. Just rest in space. Think of the sky. Think of the sun shining through the sky. Just letting it be. Primordially luminous, this vast space, you. And it's always there. That's why there's nothing to do, nothing to get rid of. You might feel, oh, I need to sit up straighter, or oh, I need to pay more attention, or oh, just being in the present is enough. There's nothing to do. And this spontaneous nothing to do-ness, this just there nothing to do-ness is itself the great sanctum, the sacred sanctum, the boop, the immaterial core of your being. So this word boop here, we know this word from Ngondro. It can also mean hub, like the hub of the Vajra in which the letters appear when you do Ali Gali. It also means, I like the word sanctum. Again, it's a kind of a contained space, and yet it is the limitless source of everything that is occurring. In this way, the book at the end of the third line, I did translate it as sacred core. Now then I changed it to core sanctum. I think that's not bad. We could also holy sanctum, sacred sanctum. It actually works if you throw in an extra syllable there. Anyway, our official translation right now is core sanctum, but core doesn't mean like something solid, like the core of an apple. It means it's core in the sense that it's at the heart, really, at the core, right down there. It is the she at the first line really is the book. It's the source, it's the core, it's the sanctum. I think holy sanctum might be as good as we can get for now. Inner sanctum, but inner suggests in and out. It could mean that. In the Ngondro, it means kind of an inner sanctum where the letters appear. But this is, it's just sanctum, holy, sacred. It's your home ground. And if we have moved through sort of seeing also means, you know, how sometimes when we understand something, we say, oh, I see, I get it. Okay. So there's maybe there's been, and maybe there will be again, a phase of, oh yeah, I get it. And then looking into, well, how is that when I get it? How does that really, affect me? And then maybe there's, oh, this is what it feels like. That's the sensing part of it. And now we come to the portal to simply being, Sumjuk, unification. Here, Sumjuk is such an important word for us. It means union. It means no separateness, no apartness. If you consider our afflictions, which are the seeds of samsara, what keeps samsara turning? What keeps our ordinary mind churning? Well, it's pretty easy. Desire, hatred, ignorance, pride, jealousy. Add to the list things that we have a different vocabulary for, being uptight, perhaps, being insecure, perhaps, feeling not enough, feeling obsessive about something or other. These are often words in my experience that we inhale, and all of them, you can take any one of them that sort of rings a bell for you and feel into, well, what is it like when I feel insecure? What is it like when I feel I don't like feeling insecure? Both of those, in feeling insecure, implicit there is a wish not to. So that's already a separation. Feeling insecure also means perhaps you feel separate from what would give you security, right? Maybe you've lost a relationship, you've lost some part of your health, a job, whatever it is. There are lots of things that make us feel insecure. And it's a lack of something that we feel that we need. So we feel separate from what we want. Noticing the way in which separateness pervades our experience, it goes right along with noticing how we live in binaries, with limits. When I get too far away from home or I drive too fast, it's probably a good thing. We might feel insecure then. We slow down. I I just don't feel held together in the way that I want to. Okay, so how does that feel? To be in touch a little bit with that, the whole of Dzogchen, the whole of our practice, really we can say is about healing separateness. We're not separate from anything. Our nature, the Dharma Dhatu, in which we all arise and dance together in our most awakened expression of what we are, we never lose that. It's hard to feel that way. This world is designed, it seems, day by day to make us feel more and more insecure, and it's harrowing. I'm not denying that. And being separate from what we need is harrowing. Enter union. It's within recognizing this state of separateness that we can come to feel union. It's so beautiful. Even just saying it, knowing that Rinpoche has said it and knows it, and his knowing and energy, we'll sing it in a minute, just fills us. That's the state, that Nyamba Chimbo, the great sameness, the wisdom of sameness, realizing that no matter what happens in the sky, nothing happens to space. Black clouds, tornadoes, a lot of danger can come forth, but it doesn't crack the sky, nor do the difficulties we encounter in our lives crack our union with reality. So in one way, I know it sounds kind of fanciful. Sometimes I don't feel that way at all. That's good. Then I recognize that I have a way to go, ways to go on the path, and I want to go there. I want to see my brokenness because I do believe there is healing for it, that I have found, that I can find more of. And this is how we pray, not for anything, not to anyone. In this state is already the answer to our prayer. We call and Avalokiteshvara is here. We name the state of our Dharmakaya, and here we are. Do we stop at 12 or 12:15? I don't know. I've forgotten, frankly, if we were meant to stop at 12 or 12:15. But I do want to have a little time for you. Would you like, yeah. I would like us to sing this with Rinpoche. Is that something you have there, Shane? If not, we've got it set up here. We can play it from here. Just the first.
The recordings. Oh, jeez.
The recording where it says Chenrezi, that will lead us to Rinpoche. And folks, you have this or soon will on your page, so you can, refer to it at any time. Okay, let's sing along with Rinpoche.
Here, I got it pulled up. Let me go ahead and play. Is there a certain part that you would like for me to stop at?
Yes, we'll stop at when we get to the end of the 4 verses. I think it's about 2 minutes. I'll just tell you or watch me.
Yeah, just let me know. Okay.
Yeah. But if you could play just the first line, the first 2 lines and then stop so we can get the melody and then go back to the beginning again. Okay. There, thank you. Take it back to the beginning. Hold it. Okay, thank you. So those are the first 2 lines. Take it back to the beginning, Shane, and we'll sing it. We're singing along with Rinpoche. Yeah, okay, thank you. And let's sing, please. Shane, can you go to Mark singing it? I think it's helpful to sing it in English also sometimes to, I don't think we have Italian yet. I think we have German. Anyway, we have English here. Let's do that with Mark. Go ahead.
One royals all arrayed wisdom hardens, whose out or in have never been. Seers real essence, great self-settled streams, in great on things sameness now praying. Boundless field not erased, placed home ground, many thoughts below ever of light. Always just their sheer forms core sanctum, in great union sameness now praying.
Thank you. Stop here. Stop here. Just take a moment to sit with that. Yeah, so I invite you to sing it slowly. When you have it on your own recorder, you can stop it anywhere. I do that when I practice. I just stop it, or if I'm not singing with a recorder, I just stop and rest and see what I can find. See what I can find moving through these phases of understanding, checking in with myself, getting into sensing, dissolving separateness. If you didn't do the September course and would like to, I think Shane could put up, it's recorded, so you can get it. And if and you can, if you're not part of absorption cycles, we invite you to fill out the form, and you can definitely listen to it. That something in our view that's helpful for this practice, for all practice. So if you could post that, Shane, when you get to it. I do want to have a chance to hear from you. Questions or comments, which you can write me. I thought we would get through more today, but this is where we'll stop, and we'll do another session and just take at least some minutes to hear what's going on with you. And you can also write me afterwards, and I'll address it the next time we.
I
How
did
is
want to
this?
say, I think that we had it marked to go to 12:30. So if you do want to continue with anything,
Oh, we're 12:30. Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, excellent then. Still, I'll pause here and see if you have comments, questions. Is it clear? You know, as you know, meditation means familiarization. Familiarization is really how we cross the bridge of distance, what seems like subject and object distance, into union. Just getting familiar. It's like when you meet somebody, you don't know them very well, you know, it's not totally comfortable. You feel separate, but as we get to know each other, we relax more, we feel closer. We may feel at one. Okay, yeah, Dahlia.
Thank you, Lama. It was really, really beautiful. And talking about being familiar, doing these teachings now for the second time, it definitely feels like the words are already familiar and they're landing. So words like boundlessness and words like sameness and thing is that thinking.
Yes.
Um, and the vastnessness. And so I'm just feeling very touched and both in the retreat, the seeing to being, and today, um, I'm I'm feeling the transmission very powerfully. So just very grateful and happy to be here, and so happy we're returning to this specific practice because there's something about the boundless compassion that deeply resonates with me and also feels to me so needed right now for the world. So thank you. And I do need to leave at 12. So thank you. Thank you. I jumped in so I could thank you before.
Yeah, it's a blessing to hear you and to feel that it's landed. Good for you. Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
can listen to the rest, obviously,
I will.
at
Yeah.
your own leisure.
Yeah.
The recording will
Thank you.
be. Thank you. Be well.
Mm.
Be well. Madeline, is that Maddie? Hi. Do you have your hand up? No?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I see your hand, but do you hear? I don't hear you. Are you? Maybe you're not there.
Okay. Hi. Hi.
Who's that?
You're on two different media. You have to turn off one of the media, otherwise it will echo.
Is this better?
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yes.
this is great.
Well, thank you for doing this. This is really great. This Chenrezi. I have a question about the boundlessness. Am I supposed to like let it sink into me like as concepts, all these concepts, or like because when you said to sit with it, then I just tried to sit, and then I kind of felt a great spaciousness
Oh.
while I was kind of meditating, like mindfulness meditation or something like that. I just want to know if I'm doing it wrong or something.
No, you're doing it very right. If you sense into it, you can feel that spaciousness. It's wonderful. You know, sometimes it does help. We need to think about it a little bit to get there, but if you can go right there, that's fine. It's perfect.
you can think of the words as a kind of sucking candy and the experience as the kind of sweetness that's associated with the sucking candy. We're interested in the sweetness. The sucking candy is kind of a stimulus. So it's kind of you use it as a kind of a ping to allow your mind and your whole sensorium to tune into an experience of what boundlessness might be like. You don't want to hold on to the concept because that ends up leaving you in dualistic experience. So one of the skills involves a kind of micro gesture of both touching the concept and the word, and then letting go of the concept and the word and moving into experience.
So very nice. And if you just saying to everybody, the spectrum of what we move between in practice will sometimes involve words. It's fine. But we don't stay with that. If we're able, that's just, everything is a portal. The words are a portal to the experience. Experience separateness, experiencing separateness is a portal to experiencing unity. So very nice. Thank you, Maddie. Rod.
Yeah, I was really struck by the many billowing thoughts ever of light, and the two sides of thoughts. Thoughts from ordinary mind being caught up, reifying, feeling mentally afflicted, and then but seeing them from Dharmakaya, they are pure forms. They're ever of light. They're luminous nature. And given that I'm not viewing everything from Dharmakaya, is it helpful to just imagine seeing them from Dharmakaya before I get there? Can I use my imagination that way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The imagination is a huge part of our practice. And we can distinguish that very easily from like daydreaming. I mean, what you're talking about in my language would be a trained imagination, right? You are training your imagination on what feels to you like a portal to or a step toward getting an actual resonance with the boundlessness. So that's exactly our process. Exactly. It leads you to sense something. Sensing is still not total union, but it's very alive, very vital, very significant. So yes, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning it. Does that help? Permission to imagine.
Yes,
We
it's
have,
very helpful.
yeah. We have to pretend. That's what practice is. Holy pretending, until we get there. Thank you. Laura.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Hello from Prague, Czech Republic. Hello there. Yes.
Then.
So I have a question about the last line of the second verse, when there is within this Dharmakaya, I pray in a state of great union and sameness. I need if you can tell me a bit more about sameness. So because there is this end, so it's not the same as union, are two aspects. I'm asking that maybe I'm too much, into my philosophical framework, but sameness goes with difference for me. And in these lines, I see just the reference of sameness, and I don't see the difference. But we know that there is all these manifold thoughts, and it's there, So I don't know if you can tell me more about how this union has also difference in there, or if union and sameness in Tibetan are just the same word and are synonym or not. Yeah, so there are two levels of questions here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your philosophical mind. And it's true that for ordinary mind, sameness is a contrast with difference. In a way, union is also a contrast with difference, but I know what you mean. It's not contained in the word itself as much. So the great sameness, so nyamba ni, nyamba, the word, can be translated in different ways. It can mean evenness. It can mean balance. What it means here is that it really refers to the dakyap, the first two syllable, the always. It's always the same. It's not in now to understand sameness cognitively, we know about epistemology to know you do kind of need to understand difference, and that's very, what you're saying makes sense. But to sense sameness, like when you look at the clear blue sky, it's blue everywhere and you get it. You don't have to use a word, you know it. That's the kind of sameness, a dakyap sameness that is always everywhere. So, not only with this word, really, although you've made a very clear and helpful example with this word, any word invites separation. As long as we're in the word, that's why wisdom is always said to be masam jeme, inexpressible, unthinkable. As soon as we think, we're using language we're not quite one with, because words, except for mantric language, point to something. And we're learning to use these terms, I would say, as mantra, as guideposts, as mirrors. So first we understand them. That's the first phase always. We talk about hearing, thinking, and meditating, or we talk about seeing, seeking, sensing. That cognitive understanding is crucial. But like the candy, it's the sweetness we're after. We don't really care about, well, maybe we do. We like to click it against our teeth. I don't know. But the main thing is the sweetness. The word, the literal meaning of the word for the state in which we're practicing, we go from hearing to reflecting. It says thinking, but thinking really means getting very close to the meaning, really the word almost dropping out, like looking at the sky and kind of and then you sense it. You don't need a word anymore. Sensing doesn't require language. The word sameness can take us, like it did you, fortunately, and Rod also, to kind of explore, okay, what's going on here? Let me understand it. But as you start to understand it, you start to get it in your body also, and to feel it.
So I would add that I know you love embodied epistemology, Laura, and
it's helpful in this process too. Very much.
I myself
I also love it.
I prefer the translation even or evenness for Nyampa. And for me, sameness triggers a kind of cognitive response where you're making judgments with your mind. Is something the same or different? Evenness, at least for me, evokes a kind of kinesthetic, bodily, embodied sense of just kind of no fuss, no frills, just kind of calm water. And it's, for me, a more powerful word as a translation for Nyampa, but both meanings are there. And I'm just kind of adding it to the richness of understanding what the phrase really relates to. I think for me, it's easier to relate to evenness. But thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is really helpful. Yes.
Good. Yeah, I don't see any more hands. Okay. Oh, I do see one. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, thank you for these teachings. It's a great gift. I like to. It almost sounds like a state of like homeostasis.
Not exactly. But I see why you would say that. And if you feel into homeostasis, what does it feel like to you?
Um, well, I mean, I guess when you're there, there's like no words to describe.
Uh-huh.
And I guess by homeostasis, maybe like um you're like in tune and connected with something that what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that's kind of how I think about it,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but I don't know.
It sounds like it's helpful to you. What I would ask you, invite you to look into if for you, I don't know what homeostasis means scientifically, but if the stasis in it means that it's come kind of like solid state, that would not be the direction. You didn't describe it that way. What you just described seemed quite in tune because it's not I guess it's not a frozen state, is what I want to say. And I don't know if homeostasis, if
So
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So I Googled the definition. It's like an organism's ability to maintain a stable internal environment, such as like body temperature, blood sugar levels, despite external changes.
Okay.
And I think like you know to like maintain that uh connection, it's like you have to live in a certain way, uh
Yeah.
eat right,
Yeah.
sleep right, speak right, think right.
Okay.
So I guess
Yeah. I think that can be helpful. It's what that makes clear is, and I think your description from your own experience also made clear, it's a state of being alive. It's not like some dead state at all. It's there's a certain vividness to it as we see the thoughts billowing, luminosities arising, and that it is ongoing. So yeah, if that helps you, good.
Yeah, so I would suggest that homeostasis, and especially the way that you describe it, actually is emphasizing all the contingencies for managing balance. And what Dzogchen is precisely is the anti-contingent state. It's not contrived. So there's nothing needed to make the sky stable. But within the stable sky, you can have thunderstorms, you can have hurricanes, you can have a clear blue sky, you can have rainbows. So the interesting thing about the stability of the depth is that it also contains spontaneity and energy. And it's so from within this unchanging depth, spontaneity arises. And within the perspective of Dzogchen, even that spontaneity is not seen as real, it's not reified movement, it's just sort of appearances. Appearances appear. And so homeostasis for me would in a way go in a kind of
like a
perhaps
dependence.
confusing direction where it thinks about control and maintaining balance. And really, in realization, there's no need to think about anything. The inherent balance of the nature of the mind is present, and appearances can occur and do occur, but they're not, it's not a non-changing state. So it's a kind of a different, the emphasis is very, very different. But I think it's good that you bring it up so that we really kind of create some differentiation. What's the difference between like kind of realization or homeostasis? And homeostasis has a lot of concern for balancing the particularities with a lot of consideration. In Dzogchen realization, there's no consideration, there's no effort, and there are appearances. And they're balanced, but you don't have to do anything to balance them out. It's naturally there. It's just everything is inherently not imbalanced. It's even. Does that resonate, Anthony?
Mm, it does. I can't help but like wonder how it works. You know, I get that it's like a prayer, and is it like Pavlov's dog or whatever, where you can, it's like a conditioned response that's like 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 the masters, they practice and then they experience the experience and then they like prescribe like a prayer to it. Is that how it's accessible to us?
It's more, it's not actually, I think conditioning, it's lovely. You're bringing up some wonderful metaphors. The ultimate aim of Dzogchen practice is a non-conditioned state. And so the prayer is much more like poetry in the sense of evoking a flavor in the mind. It's meant to allow you to resonate in a way effortlessly. You bring these phrases to mind and let them resonate internally. In a way, the more you work at it, the harder it becomes, the further away, in a way, you're getting from your natural state. Initially, we do have to work. We have to think about, what does even mean? What does non-thingness mean? But with some time, you want to allow these to more percolate and allow just the flavor of it to permeate. And ultimately, there's nothing even to percolate. You just recognize you're pre-brewed. You are already coffee. You don't have to percolate the coffee. You're there already. So these are just kind of prompts to stimulate. It's the ultimate metaphor is, you've been sitting on a piece of gold and somebody lets you know, you've been sitting on a piece of gold, just get up and look. And all of a sudden it's, oh, there's gold. It's to recognize what's already there, but we do use metaphors and maybe to speak honestly in terms of a path of practice. Initially, there's more effort, but the trajectory of practice is to allow less and less effort to occur and more permeation, resonance, relaxation, to allow for the meanings of these phrases to occur. And as Lama Rigdzin Dolma has said, every phrase here can be considered a mind nature guidance, semti. These are all semti phrases. These are guidances for the nature of the mind.
So the way you're proceeding, Anthony, is fine. It's good. There is a place, as Namyo said, for just thinking it through. And that familiarization will offer, a path to more and more ease and less effort. In the beginning, there's effort. I suppose maybe you could think of, when fruitional homeostasis, you have eaten right, everything's fine. You don't have to think about it. Your body is just maintaining its temperature. There's nothing to do. And in that sense, there's some parallelism.
Okay.
So
I
keep
see.
on.
Yeah, I think where I'm at now is like I have to put in all this effort to I have to put I have to put in the effort that is not the conditioning and the way of being that doesn't lend itself to that experience, maybe.
But it will. It will lead you to it. The light
Mm.
of the lamp will lead you to a lamp. It isn't the lamp, but it will take you there.
Mm.
Please continue. It's
Thank you.
important to continue.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
on the right track.
Okay, maybe one more. David, hi.
Oh, hi. This is so wonderful, and thank you. Can you mentioned briefly mantra operating differently than the what we find in these verses, what we're able to open to in these verses, and can you just speak a little bit more about how mantra works to kind of help us? I guess I see it as an aid maybe to getting non-conceptual.
It's
I try to do it a lot, and I sometimes wonder if I'm, doing mantra right, which seems kind of weird, but
always wonders. Such things. Mantra, and I must say, in this practice, the mantra, Mani Padme Hum, is so powerful when we get to it in the context of the practice. So mantra is a protector. It protects your mind. Man is like manas, which means mind. Tra is short for traya, which means to protect. It protects your mind from ordinary thought, from wandering. When we sing mantra, we sing it with our whole being. This is the sound, the natural expression of infinite compassion. This is the sound of Chenrezi. Kids in Samba Rinpoche said, when we sing Om Mani Padme Hum, Chenrezi, who is universal, unfailing love, naturally like sheds all of that loving energy into us, just naturally. He can't help it. We can't help it either. The mantra actually is that energy. It is we could say, the vibration of love. And so we're most, even though we know what the mantra means, it does have meaning, it's written in the text. When we sing it, we're mostly just feeling into the sound. Now, same with everything. You could, remind yourself what it means. Mani means jewel, Padma means lotus, the jewel and the lotus, he holds those, and so on. Okay, you know that, but you don't keep going over and over that again and again, right? You just let yourself be with it. So you move from seeing to being. I'm sure you're doing it right. Even to have this question suggests you're doing it right.
So a mantra could be understood as a tuning fork. And I hope you know that if you take two tuning forks at the exact same pitch, if you ring one, the other will start vibrating in resonance with it. The mantra is a resonant tuning fork for both your ordinary mind and your ultimate mind. And it contains within it the capacity, in a way, the miraculous, if you want, the magical capacity for evoking both states of your ordinary mind that are in resonance with your ultimate mind, and if the conditions are appropriate, it can evoke your ultimate mind. It's a resonating tuning fork for evoking qualities in conventional mind resonant with the ultimate, and the ultimate mind ultimately. It's a very, very important aspect of Tibetan Buddhist practice, use of mantra.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
almost
Nina, you will be. Oh, sorry, David, you're not done.
I just want to say beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Nina, yours.
Hi, did you see me?
I did.
Oh, hi. I just had a thought about asking, someone was asking about, well, if I don't feel it, I'm not getting this right. How do I get there? And the thought that I had is if you feel a connection with Atsum, with our Lama, is it okay to say his name?
We know who you're talking about.
Okay. Pray to him because he's ever available. The more that I pray to him, the more I realize he's just been right here all along, which is kind of shocking. That for me has been very helpful, but I was able to actually meet him many years ago. So, but I do feel his mind
Thank
is
you.
so vast and inconceivable that he'll hear you. So.
Thank you, Nina. Very true. I think, yes, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would like to close singing with him the mantra that you just made up. And I'll mention that, Rinpoche said this summer that for his advanced students, anyway, he really suggested in that broadcast that we practice this. And we are. And for those of you for whom it might be relevant, we will be teaching it in Ganden in Zurich, Switzerland, June 23rd to 28th. And we're especially emphasizing the last part of it because we taught most of it last time. And if you were interested in that retreat, which is in a beautiful place in Switzerland, and also I believe will be online, it was last time. I do, if you haven't already taken a course on this, I invite you to take it. I think it was in 2022, but you can write Emily. And if you're not cycles, apply to cycles. It would be great for you to do that before coming to either in person or online the retreat in Switzerland. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And maybe Shane will put the link to it up there, or else we'll put it on your page and you'll get it. So let us sing with Rinpoche. This is a refrain throughout the practice. We haven't gotten to the place in terms of these Saturdays where we sing it, but let's sing it now. Can you give us the?
It's the Chenrezi audio.
No, it's Jetsuma. It says Jetsuma. We'll sing it with her, actually. I forgot it was her.
Got it. Here. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
And we'll close with our dedication. And thank you, everyone. Okay, and now we'll do our dedication. By this good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. Actually, let's do that again. Once become great Chenrezi. That's our dedication for this practice. By this good may I swiftly once become great Chenrezi, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity in our minds. May the glow of love, wisdom, shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one awakened mandala. For all beings throughout space who are suffering, may they benefit from our practice just by our wishing it to be so. For those in our hearts and minds, our families, our friends who are in pain, may they especially right now be relieved. And so we'll send our heart of love through the sound ah, out, blessing every part of your body and being out to the whole field of our practice. You online, all of us together, out by the end of the ah to the whole universe, blessing the world with Chenrezi's love. Ah. Thank you so much. I love lighting up the world together with you. I forgot to ask you to unmute, but I think it still works. And please practice. If things come up, let us know. We'll figure out how to continue. And if you want to take a deeper dive, please be in touch. The links are here. They'll also be on your page. Wonderful seeing you today. May the love be with us all. Thank you. And thank you, Shane. Shane, this is your last time. Congratulations on your job. And I understand we won't be seeing you helping us. So you've helped us a lot for years. And we look forward to seeing you around, but maybe not behind the Zoom.
Yes, I still might be around for some Zoom meetings, but it might be either me or Candace in the future. Probably like as I begin to move into future.
Yeah. Well,
So
good. We're happy for you. We'll miss you. And I'm glad to hear that, yeah, we'll still see you.
yes, I'll still be around for sure.
That's wonderful.
Lovely to
Thank
see
you.
everybody all around the world.
Be well.
Thank you all. Lovely to see
Love,
you all.
love,
You stay
love.
well.
Ay, Kenzie Dawa. Hey, Laura. Jackie, I'm veľmi pekný.